pigeon over there, but it's a pile of leaves.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Bridge Sessions under the Triborough RFK Bridge. In episode 5, my good friend Jeremy Carlstedt.
Hey man,
what's
how you
up,
doing?
Man?
I bought a bridge.
Jeremy just bought this bridge. So
Take memo.
Nobody can say nothing because we own this whole
Yeah, it's old.
And Jeremy actually lives out here, like myself, not that far from the bridge. And as soon as I started the bridge sessions, Jeremy was instantly on my mind, and he agreed to it right away. And here we are. And I'm going to offer a couple of congratulatory things to Jeremy. A recent graduate of Empire State College.
Yep, got my degree, bachelor degree in art.
And recently married as well.
Recently married. I got engaged right over. There's a tree on the other side of the bridge. I proposed to my wife at this park last year before. We got married on September 23rd, Train's birthday.
Train's birthday. That's a good day to get married.
And that was a coincidence too. We didn't choose that date. My wife's mom. So it's pretty awesome.
Sometimes dates have a way of lining up. Sometimes it seems difficult, but sometimes the right things really do happen at the right time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to wait for it, you know.
Yeah.
But
then we got the baby on the way.
And a baby on the way. So
Sorry to hear, but
in today's terms, Jeremy is currently crushing it. Straight up crushing it. Aside from a lot of the music things he's involved in, which is extensive. I mean, so Jeremy's one of those guys where he's so versatile. It's incredible. I mean, you might find him in a lot of different areas. And even in his own music I always try to avoid category. I mean, I'm of course associated with jazz and free jazz, or you know, as are you. I mean, and we'll totally talk about that. But in your own music, when it comes out, without categorizing it, it comes from a lot of different places, a lot of different influences. And you sing too.
Yeah, I do sing. I did a vocal record, kind of a psych rock vibe. I grew up listening to classic rock with my mom, and the first show I ever saw was The Who.
Right.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, so that, energy to me is no different than any other musical energy when it's really on.
Yeah.
So, and I like to listen to all kinds of stuff. I like to listen to a lot of stuff without any drums.
Yeah.
Just solo piano, solo saxophone.
Yeah.
Marcel Mule, I have a new a record I just picked up in Chicago for $1.
Yeah.
Marcel Mule playing just solo saxophone.
I gotta check that out.
It's beautiful. Yeah. So anything could come out. You listen to a lot of stuff. Something might come out, man, from somewhere.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily always have to be, like from the jazz canon.
Well, if Steve Neal was one of my biggest influences, and also a musician I work with, Vincent Chance, he said the same thing. If it's free, then just play whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's free. You don't have to be. There's no specific thing you have to do to play free.
Yeah.
Just be free. Play whatever you hear. So
And I love
that's kind of what I do.
the spaces between everything is an interesting place to be.
Thanks, man.
But so I'd like to touch on the beginning. How young were you? Like when was it that music first entered your life, where you felt something was happening more than the ordinary? Like there was an attraction there. Did you hear something, or was there an occurrence?
I heard something really loud.
The Big Bang.
Next door. See, it was like that, yeah. Several. I grew up living in different places in the country, just for no military reason or anything, just my mom's husband at the time. We'd always be moving somewhere, basically escaping the electricity bill whenever the lights would get cut out. Moved to a new town. So we lived in Virginia at the time, Shenandoah Valley. And we had a duplex, a town called Greenville. It's very close to Natural Bridge. And the dude next door was playing drums. And I heard him. And he said, hey, you can play the drums, want to check them out? So his favorite drummer was Stuart Copeland. So that became my first favorite drummer for the Police.
And you were like 10?
No, I was 7 or 8.
7 or 8 years old, yeah.
So I called my dad and I said, I need a set of drums. And he used to be a music promoter. So he said, okay. So he sent me this drum set from Sears, Muppet Babies. And I took the drums very. I never really studied drum. You know, I listened a lot. You know, I didn't take a lot of lessons or anything initially. I just taught myself from records, which a lot of people do. And but I love my drums so much that I had a very good friend who came over one time and he broke my snare drum. He was just doing something. He put the stick right through it, and I was like, "You can't have the sleepover now. You gotta go home."
You're out, bro.
And I felt bad later. He came back.
But I hear you though. That's crossing the line, man.
Yes, it is. We were kids, but my Muppet Babies drum head. I don't think Remo made those drum heads.
That's right.
So
Yeah, you
it's
went
cool.
too far, bro.
Yeah. So, but that was the first time I really and I kept playing until today. I never stopped playing. So
Ever since then.
never. And I'm 42 now, so I just broke the showbiz rule. Everyone knows how old I am now.
I'm 48. I broke
Shit.
it too.
Different generation, man.
Yeah,
I'm just
you
kidding.
know.
I'm just kidding.
So, from what I know of your earlier days, at a certain point you were part of the DC scene,
Oh yeah.
and I'm not sure. Now at this point, I'm jumping all the way into your 20s, I guess.
Well, what happened was I was in, like I said, we moved everywhere. So we lived in Miami, we lived in Texas, lived in California. So we're in Texas, and my mom and I decided it'd be good for me to go to live with my grandma
Okay.
in DC, which I wanted to do anyway because I had an uncle that went to the Duke Ellington schoolyards.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
grandma had a room for me, so I went to stay with her. And had to finish one more year of junior high or high school. No, high school. I was in high school in Texas, same grade, but they put me in the junior high in DC. So I finished that year, and I auditioned for the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, which is where I met musicians I still know. Ryan Settles, for instance.
Right.
You know, one of my closest friends. He was a groomsman at my wedding. You know, we met there.
Settles, is he still operating out of DC?
Oh yeah.
He's one of those guys you hear about, I know he's a super bad cat.
Oh yeah.
At some point he was either in New York or around New York doing stuff with Jump Arts and Tom Abs.
Well, we used to be roommates.
Okay.
So Steve Neal was teaching at the new school, and I needed a room. So he said, "Oh, you can come live at my house in Brooklyn, over by the Atlantic Center, where that is, you know." And Brian ended up being a roommate. Dave Manassian, Neil Podgorski, Chris Kuzmi. Yeah, a ton of people who just came through that house. But Steve started it, and we made a lot of music in there. And we did a lot of cooking. Steve taught us about cooking and music and how, you know, if we're hanging out, just cutting some vegetables, it's like, we're making music right now. And he would always make a note of that when we were doing that. And at that house, I also met one of my other close friends, Jean-Marie Colleton, my beautiful percussionist who teaches me Tai Chi. And, you want to stay?
No, I'm good. That's you.
And you know, in that house, the vibe was all about the music and about studying and meditating. And, you know, Jean-Marie would say, "Oh, we turn the teapot on. Let's hold this position until the water boils." You know, that kind of stuff was happening there. So it's a very, very positive environment.
Like a spiritual arts community.
It was very nice. So we would all play on the jump scene, and we played with Andy Bemke and my friend Chad Taylor was on that scene.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of you know. So yeah, that was probably my first my first gig in New York was with Brian and Dylan Sills on bass, Dave Manassian on trombone in Washington Square Park in the fountain. Was my first gig.
Okay.
And we decided to set up because we needed some money for beer or something. Beer and cigarettes, most likely. So we're like, okay, let's set up and just try to make some bucks. And all I had were my brushes and in a newspaper. I used to sit at the bus stop in DC and just play, wait for the bus on the newspaper. So that was my first gig in New York, was on a newspaper playing brushes. And I think we made a few bucks. Yeah, it was nice.
I just got the idea to do the park sessions.
Okay.
Thinking of all these parks, I mean Washington Square,
Yep.
Tompkins Square. I don't think I'll act on that. There's making music in the park is like a whole scene unto itself.
It's very nice. The environment is definitely surrounded by nature. Is where you want
mean, this is technically in Astoria Park right now, but to me, it's all about the bridge. But Tompkins Square Park has a whole history on the Lower East Side. That's where Yosemite used to hold court, and Washington Square Park. Now that I think about it, it's got some nice areas for music. I'm thinking about that fountain.
I might ask you if you could stand with me while I set up my drums against that big. There's a giant brick wall over there, and I'm just hearing like John Bonham sound over there.
Man,
They're gonna kick me out, so I might need some help moving my gear.
That's actually the rain spot.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, like if it was raining, that's where we would go.
Okay. Nice.
And maybe we'll do another episode and they'll play over there.
Yeah. I don't want to get us kicked out of the park.
Well, right by that area over there, there's cops that drive by a lot.
Yeah.
And they look at me kind of strange because I've played over there when it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't messed with me yet.
Just bring a recording of like smoke on the water or something.
Yeah.
The cats will be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So that's where I got my start in New York, and the new school, of course, with Arnie Lawrence was like,
yes.
a major. Still to this day, it's for me. It's like at Duke Ellington School of the Arts, we had Davey Yarborough,
Yeah.
and one of the best educators I've ever met, and everybody knows that. He's like that, and the stuff he taught me, I still practice this stuff. Like I think about it. It's not like technical, but the focus things and the maintaining your craft and things like that I learned at Duke Ellington School, I still utilize, and rehearsal techniques. He was the best to get a band, all the kids together and go to a competition, or we would have Duke Ellington's actual charts, which is really cool. And
I'd love to study those.
yeah, they're around. So that was like, just having that, and then Arnie Lawrence in New York. And Arnie, when I went to the new school to visit, the strangest thing happened, because he gave me a conga to play. And I'm from DC, so I know percussion. I've heard go-go growing up. Never really played hand drums. But he puts me on a drum. He goes, "Start sitting with the blues ensemble." So I play, and maybe 10 years later, long after I left the new school, Chico Hamilton calls me to play congas in his group. And Arnie was in that band with Chico, so I always thought it was very interesting that the first thing that happened to me at the new school was here to play this hand drum. So I spent 10 years working with Chico after that.
And on that note, how about do some playing, and then we'll talk about Chico, because that's definitely like one of the main things I want to talk to you
Yeah.
about is your more than a decade of Chico Hamilton. So that's a big subject. So let's do some playing. How about we do a tribute to Chico?
Oh, okay.
Or we can run down some brush technique stuff, and whatever you're feeling, and then we'll get into Chico after that. I mean, I definitely have some questions myself. Yes, sir.
That was fun. Sounds
Yes,
nice
sir.
out here, man.
It starts to grow on me.
It does. Well, under the tree, I think it's like having a canopy is kind of nice as opposed to if we were just out in the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, man.
After we did the episode with Ross, he was so into the vibe that he was walking around playing for like another hour just on the vibe.
Yeah, I do. So my friend who's teaching me Qigong and Tai Chi, we work out in Fort Greene Park. But since I'm by here, I go, there's 4 trees over there, and I stand in the middle of the trees. Because sometimes when you're doing these dances, your legs start to shake, and then you're like, oh, I gotta quit, man. And then if you look at the tree, you're like, all right, man, the tree's doing it. I could do this.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of inspirational that way. You know?
They've been holding it down all this time.
They have been holding it down for a while.
This tree right here is probably older than us.
The roots are literally holding it down, I think.
Yeah. Roots.
Cool.
So, yeah, Chico Hamilton, man. So,
Oh man, like my grandfather, man.
So, I mean, there's a lot there, but maybe just start with your initial meeting.
Well, I met Chico at the New School. So, I mean, everyone wanted to study with certain drummers. And there was amazing drummers all around, but I was like, who is Chico Hamilton? I didn't know who he was. You know, I never heard of him. So, I looked him up, and his concept was clear right away. He was someone who he was a legend, you know, in West Coast jazz. Then he was on Impulse in the 60s. One of their big sellers in the 60s. You know, Train was the top. Chico was up there, you know.
Yeah.
And his music was very rockin'. You know, there's some rock in there. One of the first fusion bands was, you know, Chico's on Impulse with Arnie Lawrence. So Coryell was on guitar.
Gotta check that out.
It's beautiful, yeah. So Arnie's playing electric horn on some stuff. So, you know, just seeing what he had done seemed a lot more interesting to me. Because I went to Duke Ellington School. We studied jazz, mostly just jazz. But Chico just didn't seem to have any boundaries to where he would go with the music. He has a record with Little Feat, but it's Chico on drums. I mean, that kind of stuff. So it just seemed to me like wanting to sort of experience all kinds of music. He was a logical choice as a drum teacher. And when I went to my first lesson with him, he told me, you know, what do you want to learn? So it wasn't about a method. It was like, well, where are you trying to go with the music? Let me see if I can help you.
Yeah.
And because a good friend of mine told me, you know, he teaches the basics. Then from there, you could decide where you want to take those and expand on that. But, you know, I like that he didn't have like a method way of teaching, because I've never been good at learning that way. I'm good at teaching myself stuff, you know, and I could listen one-on-one and learn something. But if you start writing it down and telling me why this has to happen and that has to happen, I'm not always the best with that. So he's a very natural teacher. Never showed me any stickings, or just mostly feel and touch and getting a good sound. Not playing sometimes, you know, laying out, you know, telling me to lay out sometimes, things like that, you know. You don't always have to play.
Yeah.
So that was my first meeting with him. When I met him again, it was because, I don't know who this person was, but somebody didn't show up for a rehearsal. And they were late, and they called Chico and said, should I come, you know, now? He goes, no, don't worry about it. So then I got the call. And he said, how long will it take you to get over here? And I was like, maybe an hour or so. He goes, well, come next week. And this was 10 years after I left the New School. So he said he was looking for a percussionist. And I had recently done something with the poet Ursula Rucker and with my friend Tim Motzer, where she wanted me to play conga. So I had practiced a little, and my friend Jean-Marie showed me some things. And like Charlie Persip always says, just take the gig, man. Like, yeah, you can do it. So I was like,
Take the gig,
I was like, yeah, I can do it. And he said, well, how much do you want to get paid? He asked me, you know. And I told him what I thought was fair. He goes, well, we could probably get you that most of the time. And it ended up being a lot more. He's a very generous band leader. And that turned into 10 years, 9 and change of not only rehearsing every week with Chico that we could, but of course he'd be like, hey, can you bring me a Daily News? Like and some strawberries or whatever.
Right.
But we did a lot of record dates and played the Newport Festival. We traveled to Montana and did a lot of beautiful in New Orleans. And he would allow us to write music for the group and keep our publishing. Special guests like Shuggy Otis on one record, some on a record with Shuggy Otis because of Chico, Fontella Bass. And then his final record, he was 92 years old, so he didn't play drums on it. And he just had me play drums. Yeah. He said to his manager, Jeremy's playing drums on this one, and his manager goes, okay. Yeah. But it worked out. It's a nice record, and Chico did some spoken word on it.
It's actually like the supreme honor, really.
I mean, like
a jazz master gives you his chair and records
on his drums too.
It's really, it's a sign of like deep respect and trust and camaraderie, brotherhood, mentorship between.
He really liked spending time with us, and he was always there for you for not just musical stuff, anything you need advice, or we would have family dinners together. Thanksgiving, come over to Chico's. He liked my cooking, so he would say, "Can you make that pasta?" So I would make that for him, and he anything. He knew about everything. He read all the time. He studied harmony all the time. This is at 92 years old. We'd come in and go, "Hey man, check out this chord. Sit at the keyboard, play this chord," and the guitar players would tell you he's the best guitar teacher because guitar players, they don't have to take a breath. Chico would say, "Try this concept," and they would come out of that group sounding totally different and lyrical. He was all about the lyrics and playing the melody. And if you're going to take a solo, have one drum solo for the whole night. You don't need 100 drum solos, or even 3 horn solos on one song. You could just have one, and then play the melody. But he was about music and not for playing for other drummers. So, I felt good about that because I'm not somebody who sits at the drums and goes, well, I'm going to try to do this pattern that I've been practicing. Something might come out that is technically challenging, I guess, but I never think that way. And I'd rather play quarter notes and put, I try to listen to every note I'm playing. So I try to put some feeling into every one of those notes instead of going, well, I'm just going to do this and, I'm on autopilot. I really try to slow it down in my mind and touch the instrument in a way that I feel like I'm, I never want to feel like, and Makonda McIntyre told me, don't play any patterns. It's not exercises, it's not patterns, so it's music and, try not to play like a drummer, and I learned that from Chico, so, yeah.
Like the touch on the drums, I think is something I've been thinking about recently, because you hear about people talk about the touch on piano players, the touch leads to their sound, how much control they have over the touch. But as a non-drummer, as an observer of that world, I've looked at recently how much that touch is a part of like the craft. Like that new Train record that came out recently. There's a couple tracks on there where you can actually hear Elvin's touch.
He had a touch.
And it's like somehow that record got there's so many people that started listening to other things and reacting in their own musics from that record coming out. It's kind of nuts.
Well, if you listen to I saw Tony Williams play one time, and people thought he was a loud drummer, but the way he played was It was loud, but it didn't hurt your ears. You know when you go to like Guitar Center, they're not a sponsor, are they?
No.
I'm just kidding.
But I know what you're talking about.
But it's loud. It's loud, and you go, wow, that's really loud. Okay, the decibels weren't any higher or lower. But Tony Williams had a touch. And at one point, he brought the volume down to nothing, man. You could barely hear him. And he was just playing a figure. I think Wallace Roney was playing a solo. And he played just like a Charleston, fast. And I was sitting right next to him, and I was like, he went from here down to here, and then we'll bring it back up. And it's like it's the touch. That's what it was. You know, it's how you play the drum. It's not the volume, you know. So yeah, I mean, he's a master of that, definitely, man. Every great drummer I've seen, Billy Higgins, beautiful touch, man. You know, Roy Haynes, beautiful touch.
And for many years, you and Chico were having a dialogue of rhythm.
Well, he would play half the show. I played percussion, then he would leave the stage, and I would play. Originally, I would play a couple songs. Then he would come back out and finish the show, and that morphed into him playing half the show, and then it's like, oh, Jeremiah's gonna take over. So then he would just chill in the back, and then yell things at the band like, you're playing too fucking loud. And the crowd loved it because Chico had good, you know, microphone skills. I mean, He said one time at one of the shows, this next song's for Miles Davis. You know, we were good friends. We used to box together, and the crowd's quiet, and he goes, you know who Miles Davis is, right? And some idiot goes, who's that?
Right.
And Chico said, it's your father. So that was his vibe on the stage. So when we would do, when I wasn't playing half the show, when he would come back and play the theme, we had a theme song, you know, and everybody got a break where they could do a little something. So I would get my break on percussion right before Chico's break. Chico did 2 breaks. So make the break, I do my thing. Okay, I thought that was cool. Put an elbow, whatever. I look cool, whatever. Chico's break would be, he would take the sticks and drop them on the drum like this and just hit the rims. That's it. And then he would look at me
Like, what do you got?
Yeah. And one time he said, he made his break, and he says in the snare drum, shit. That was his drum break. So he had the best sense of humor, and then the audience would, and you're talking about something that played avant-garde music all the time on his records.
Yeah.
Okay, he wasn't known as that, as oh, this is my genre.
Right.
But he had it on his records all the time.
Yeah.
And he knew how to play that melody, man, so that he could play anything else he wanted to. And you're wearing an Albert Ayler shirt. I love Albert Ayler because he plays so many beautiful melodies the whole time. It's not just noise, it's the prettiest melodies I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So you could just, anything else is like stirring under it, but there's a contrast there.
Yeah.
And you know, Steve Neal used to talk about that. If I'm playing the bass on a low note, play a higher sound on your cymbal. You don't have to go low with me, and try to even move around your cymbal that way. So, you know, I think like these musicians that taught me were thinking like compositionally in the moment. You know, so yeah, it's improvised, but they were also making choices, distinctive choices, like this is what I'm gonna do here to make this sound cool. And, you know, I owe everything to those cats. I mean, that's who, you know, I mean, well, my mom, of course, starting me out listening to like, you know, Keith Moon and John Bonham.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I saw Aerosmith when I was in the womb. Yeah, in traffic. So my mom said I was in there kicking around.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So it comes back to the sound, and Chico would always say that we're all different sizes, so no one should sound the same. You know, and he wasn't considered a drummer who had like Buddy Rich kind of chops, so he took a different approach. You know, and I always kind of felt that way, that I don't, you know, feel like everybody else. So I'm like, all right, well, try to do this, you know. And Chico would facilitate, you know, learning things your own way and finding your own direction, and making sure you're musical while you do it. You know?
So in his story, I think he came out of LA going back.
Yeah.
And ended up with hiring Eric Dolphy.
Well, I saw a picture of Chico's high school band. Dexter Gordon was in there.
Okay.
Charles Mingus was in his high school band.
It's like all the heaviest guys from this.
Heaviest guys. I mean, Chico would talk about Mingus and, you know, how there was a gig where they were on the same bill and the drummer was playing too loud. So Mingus goes backstage, he stops playing, he puts his bass down, he goes backstage and he comes out with a hammer. And he starts hitting the stage with the hammer right next to the drummer.
Woo!
So, but this was his high school band, you know, and but yeah, and then Chico, of course, was in the Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan group. He was part of that group. And,
I didn't look at his discography online.
It's a lot of records.
I know there's stuff on there that I don't know about.
Billie Holiday, Buster Young.
Oh wow.
He subbed for Sonny Greer. He said Sonny Greer fell off a drum. You know, he had that big drum riser. And I don't want to laugh because Sonny Greer is one of my favorite drummers, but you know, I always fear, like I'm one of those people on stage, I'm like, they always put the drummer right on the edge, and of course if there's too many people, you're like, oh man, I don't want to go take a dive tonight, man. You know,
right. Because Sonny Greer would set himself up way high.
He was up high, man, so if he fell off of there, you could really get hurt. You know, if I fall, it's just funny, and maybe it's whatever, man, people laugh about it, but he hurt himself. So Chico subbed for Duke Ellington's group because of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was Chico's history, man. And Papa Joe Jones was Chico's teacher, but he said they never talked about drums. So,
call from Duke. That's like one of the ultimate calls.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Sorry. So this is not a stand-up show. So
well, how about we do some more playing,
okay,
and then I'll ask you about what's going on these days, like the stuff that's happening now. And so you're watching the Bridge Sessions episode 5, featuring Jeremy Carlstedt, and this is a live interview and music collaboration in Astoria Park that we do under the Triborough Bridge behind me. So that's not Photoshop.
no, and it's not sponsored by anybody.
That's right. That's the actual bridge.
Yet.
Right. We're working on that. So we're going to get into another musical portion of the program. And thanks for stopping by.
Give you a little space, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you can. The closer you get to the bridge, it echoes.
I remember you were practicing and you were sending notes down there.
Yeah.
But I wished I could have been on the other side to hear what it sounded like, or if you could even hear it.
Yeah.
Or you're just hearing it, I wonder.
Well, if I go under the Hell's Gate Bridge over there, and I hit like a blast, like a bitch's brew, like it travels all the way under this bridge and that goes throughout. It just keeps going and going and going. It's
let
really
me know
fun.
one day. I want to be in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I know some dude is just like, who the fuck is honking at me?
Yeah.
But it's you in Queens.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the things that we just did, somebody honked, and it entered.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
It entered our collaboration.
Nice. So you don't get that in outside of New York.
Well, so far nobody. Usually, almost every time, people walk into the screen. And they start rapping with us, and they don't realize that they're live.
That would
so
be
far,
funny.
we've been cool. But we've got Sue Leone handling security. She doesn't play around. So Jeremy, I know you're involved in a lot of stuff. 12 Houses for one.
Mm-hmm. I love that group.
Jeremy is in 12 Houses, and we absolutely love his playing there. Where you're in an interesting position in that group, and no music, and that's usually the way I like to work with somebody like Jeremy is I put him in a place where he's never heard, has no previous knowledge of what's going to go down, and then he seamlessly works through an ensemble or an arrangement as if he's been rehearsing it for a long time. And you never know, because I could come up with, I'll be like, I need gospel. Whatever it is, Jeremy's like, oh yeah, cool. And that could be anywhere. Like, what's that one? There's this groove that Lee said you're the only person she's come across that can play. Go-go.
Oh yeah.
See, there's grooves out there. See, like something like that.
So when you go to school, where I went to school, every time the teacher turned around, all the drummers in class would start playing a go-go beat on the desk, and she'd be like, and then we would stop and then back around, and then the beat would start.
Yeah.
So, and also, I use my foot a lot when I play, and that's totally for DC because we used to have like foot competitions. It was arts high school, so you have a few drummers there. We'd be in the percussion room.
Like who had the quickest?
Oh, dude, who had the quickest foot? Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, there was a lot of that, man. So yeah, absolutely.
And
go.
In particular, your hip hop or your all the grooves that you do that veer towards that category, are we've done some hip hop things in the 12 Houses, and really just the groove is just unbelievable. Like when we do No More Hate, we do this piece called No More Hate, and we do other things like Dump Trump, and Jeremy's got that thing.
Nice. Awesome.
And but man, I know you're involved in a lot of stuff. I mean, I see you out of town a lot.
Yeah, I
in
do some various things.
Philadelphia, could be back in DC.
DC, I play a lot with my friend Brian. In DC, we just did a duet not that long ago at Rhizome. That was really fun. And then a few years ago, we got to open for the Sun Ra Orchestra at a theater on U Street, which is really cool. Duet, and Bernie Worrell was a special guest that night. And I'll never forget that he actually listened to us. And when we got off the stage, there's Bernie Worrell. You guys sound great. And I'm like, dude, you could have been backstage or, the green room, whatever. He was checking it out, man. So that's a really beautiful duet. Brian and I have had, I think we're going to hopefully do some recording soon. But
very cool.
We've been, so there's that. In Philly, I play with a band I play with an artist named Tim Motzer. And Tim's one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. Plays with everybody. Played with Jackie Liebezeit from Can. We have a band called Orion Tango, which I'm wearing the shirt right here. And we got like a little accolade in Prague Magazine recently, like best of albums, #2 best record, which is kind of cool, So
man, you were on WKCR recently.
Yeah,
doing your own thing.
I do. I did. Orion Tango did something there. Brian and I did something. I did something there with Anders and Francois, Anders Nilsson, Francois Griot. But I think. I'm trying to think. Oh, and also one of the latest things is the band Giant Dwarf, which is Martin Philadelphia from Vienna and Rick Parker, who lives in Brooklyn. An album came out on my label, Carlstedt. That's the second record on that label, and then we also had a cassette release for very, very special recordings. Ooh. So there's me a tour in October in Austria, and then possibly some gigs in Nice with a guitar player there. But yeah, I end up in a lot of different places. I could be playing like straight ahead jazz, or free jazz, or rock. I just try to make sure it's good people. Yeah. And if it's good people, it doesn't feel any different to me. To play any type of music. So, man, anywhere. But I'm writing new music for a new vocal record. So that's really where I'm, heading right now.
And people want to check out your music. Is it like
JeremyCarlstedt.com?
Yeah.
Everything's on there.
JeremyCarlstedt.com. Check that out.
My first album is called When I Wake Up. Tim Motzer produced that. And I sang on it. I played a little guitar and a little rhythm guitar, but Tim just crushes the guitar all over it. And the second one, Stars Are Far, features Brian Settles, Eric Wheeler, and Tim Motzer. And that was my instrumental compositions. There's probably some Sonny Chirac influence in there somewhere, because I just feel like that free rock sound was explored, and now it's like people aren't really dealing with it. Everybody's real slick and trying to be brainy the whole time, and I think some of that music, man, it's like, just let it go for a minute, man.
Is that what people call math rock? I heard that term
there's
recently.
math jazz too, and I don't dislike any jazz that's written out. I'm cool with that, but I like to hear sometimes people get loose, and I like to hear that kind of music. For me, my favorite drummers are like Elvin Jones, Chico, Keith Moon.
Didn't James Brown say "Get Loose Now"?
Probably. If you see those drummers play, they're pretty. Check out the meters, man.
Yeah,
I mean that's loose, man, and it's together. So like, how did Elvin Jones do that, man? It's loose, but he knows exactly where he is, man.
Yeah.
So to me, like equating tightness to
4 + 6
to smartness is not actually. I think it's the opposite. If you watch like a master Tai Chi teacher, they're loose, man. It's loose.
Yeah.
So I think, but I guess if you want to emphasize the tightness, that's good. But whenever someone says, "You guys sound tight," I always go, "Ooh," that's too bad. I think about Levon Helm, like playing a pocket, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna drop his sticks. He doesn't drop his sticks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's interesting to me to sort of learn how to create that within a looseness.
Levon Helm makes me think of Eric Lawrence, who played with Levon Helm.
Oh, yeah.
Leading back to Arnie Lawrence.
And Eric played with Chico also.
Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Eric, if you're out there, what's up, man?
Oh, Eric, we did a memorial for Chico at the New School.
He's
a great player, man.
Eric, if you're out there, man, maybe you should come Come by the bridge sessions one day, bro.
We'll be here for another 15 minutes.
But you know, man, Arnie was the first live jazz I ever saw in my life.
Really?
It might be the reason I played.
Where?
And he came to Nyack High School in like 87 or something.
Wow.
And I was a student there. Nyack is like 40 minutes upstate. And he did he did a live set for the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, and I couldn't get over this guy, Arnie. Like, it's just like how much fun he was having. Like his whole vibe really got to me.
He also played any kind of music. You know, he taught the Spin Doctors, Blues Traveler. He played with Duke Ellington. He played with James Brown.
I saw his name on a Louis Armstrong day.
He's played on everything, man.
Section, yeah.
He used to wear a Charlie Parker medallion. And the last time I saw Arnie play, he came in to see his daughter play at Detour. Maria Lawrence. You know
Right.
Maria? Great singer.
Yeah, not personally, but I know her.
Yeah, Maria's awesome. So he comes in and he has a big staff, you know, and he already reminds you of like Gandalf, you know, when you see Arnie, like Gandalf with like a cowboy hat on, you know.
Right.
And so he has this big staff and he comes in, he doesn't have a horn, and we're like, man, I wish Arnie had his horn, you know, because the time before that I heard Arnie play, I cried. I was crying when he took a solo. Like, he actually could bring you to tears playing. You're like, so, Arnie. And he picks up his staff, and it's a giant wooden flute. He starts blowing into it, and it was like a walking stick flute, man, and he took a solo on the gig. And like, come on, man, like, I don't know anyone else.
It's like some Gandalf level stuff.
It was Gandalf, you know, yeah. Gandalf was born before Arnie, but I don't know.
Back in the day, man, in the early 90s, I was going to the Smalls Jam sessions, and I was mostly self-taught at that time. And one day after I played, I didn't realize it was him. It was Arnie Lawrence came over to me, and I didn't realize it was him at the time. And he was a nice guy. He came over to me, and he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "everything's cool." He goes, "But I want you to go see this. I want you to go see this person." And he handed me a card, and it said Valerie Panamarev, the trumpet player.
I remember him.
And Valerie's still crushing it.
Yeah.
And then he split, and I was like, I didn't realize until maybe months later that was Arnie. It was Arnie Lawrence.
He started the new school.
And I went to see Valerie for a few pivotal lessons. So Arnie was 100% right that at that moment that was exactly what I needed. Was a couple of real good foundational lessons / confrontations with a cat like Valerie.
Arnie did that. Arnie would
known for stuff like
he would watch you play, and you'd say, "Oh, that was a fun class," or whatever. You know, he'd do stuff like turn the radio on in the ensemble room, and go through the station and find something. He goes, "Okay, let's play that,"
Right.
and then make everyone learn it, and then he'd turn it off, and that would be the jam.
Right.
But he would watch you play, and then you didn't know he was watching you, and then like a week later, he would come up to you and go, "You know what, man? I've been thinking about you, and this is what you need to do." So he would just give you the perfect. I think he thought, he would really think on it, man. He wouldn't just say, "You need to do this and this. This is what everyone does." He would go. It was the same with Chico. You know what you need to do? Do this. Be conscious of this, or think about this. Or for me, like with Chico, it was like volume. Don't play so loud. You don't have to play loud all the time.
Yeah.
So I can play super loud, but I also can play super soft, and that's thanks to Chico. But
So
Arnie,
guys
Arnie
like
did the
this,
same thing.
So guys like this are like masters of perception. They can almost instantly read somebody and figure out where they're at and what they're good at and ways they can expand. or
And it makes
evolve.
sense of why Arnie would start a school, not once, but twice, because he had one in Israel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he was the best educator in that way, man. He could and he was a natural. He could read, but a lot of times he just, he used his ear a lot. Arnie was like a very natural musician, very organic, man. And he would always listen, he would listen to, even before the song started, you would sit there with Arnie and he would be like, close his eyes and wait for the tempo, and he would choose these tempos that once they started, it never fluctuated really. And I think it was because he chose the perfect tempo for the song. Like he listened to the air and said, this is where that melody is sitting right now. One time someone must have been working on the roof of the new school and they threw some buckets of water over something. You heard this water like fall down the building, and Arnie heard it and he responded to it. You know, we all saw this waterfall, and he just played like some melody that went along with it. It's just like, wait.
This guy's like part of nature.
He's
in nature walking around.
Exactly. That's his vibe, man. So, you know, when he started that program, man, it was a beautiful program. I mean, I think it's still good, man. I haven't been there in a long time, but you know,
now the stone is in like the front of the school.
Right. When I went to the new school, there was only one avant-garde ensemble.
And now the stone is like right up front. It's deep.
The music's more popular.
Man, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. The cat we both knew, I think you might have known him a little better, was the late, great Will Connell.
Oh, man, Will Connell. That makes me want to cry, man. I miss Will so much.
Will Connell.
Such a sweet person. And beautiful. If you go on YouTube, there's a Will Connell quartet. Will, Vincent Chansey, Max Johnson played bass, and Will kicks my ass on this solo. I mean, it's crazy, and he was so humble that he never thought he sounded good. But we were always like, dude, you were crushing it tonight. And he's like, no, you guys were crushing it.
He was always like that, man.
Always.
He would destroy it every time.
And he did the copy work for Skies of America. I wanted to study, actually, you know, he passed away, you know, of some hospital BS.
Very
you know?
unexpected and tragic.
And I really wanted to study, I was his computer help, you know, anytime he had a computer question. And Will was such a sweet person. One time he said, hey, my friend canceled on me for Jazz Standard, but I already have tickets, I'm already gonna go. Why don't you come with me to the show? And I'm like, okay, cool. He insisted on buying me dinner, drinks, watch the show, just as a friend, man. He just wanted it. He's like, I'm taking you out, man. I just got paid. And one time he came to see Vincent, and Tyler Mitchell and I were playing at Minton's. It was an afternoon gig. You know, nobody was there. Nobody except for the bartender and Will Connell in a suit up front, right up front. Like, it was like a 4 p.m. gig, you know.
That sounds like Will, man.
And he just showed up, man, with super good vibes. And yeah, I mean, just a beautiful person, man, who knew about everything. Everything.
Oh, man, he was so deep on knowledge, man. Astrology. I really miss him, man.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Well, you were in his quartet.
I was in his quartet for Sadhana for several years, man.
I saw that band at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it was really special, man. And you know, yeah, we used to play quite a bit. But, yeah.
I hooked up with towards the end. Will had a large ensemble that he had put together for this. I forget what it was. Maybe it was the Stone or an Arts for Arts thing. But and I saw his charts, and they were pretty hard.
Yeah, you know, he had some very challenging music actually. Because
his stuff was hard.
He would have melodies. You know, I don't normally read. I've been reading more. You know, been shedding my reading, so now I can read. You know, it's like a muscle. You know, like I don't get called to do it that much, but I've been getting called to do it. So let me get my reading back together. But Will was one of the reasons I started doing that. We'd have these charts, man, where there was multiple melodies going against each other, and in odd meters, it was super melodic. But man, you could get lost in that, you know. Yeah. And but my favorite was the one that I'll send you the link. But the one where he kicks my butt is called "The Web of Forces."
I know this tune.
And man, this alto solo is one of the best alto solos I've ever heard. Like, I think someone should get that recording and do something with it, because it's
I think I have
so beautiful.
I think I have the sheet music, The Web of Forces.
Yeah.
And there was one night 12 Houses did all Will's music, or at least 2 or 3 of his tunes. And I used to, when I was working at Sam Ash, I would see Will almost like almost every week or every 2 weeks he would come by to buy reads, and then when he would tell me stories about Simon and Kirk or Sun Ra or Horace Tapscott.
Oh man, Motown.
Motown.
He worked for Motown.
Cecil, Ornette, and he's always, and he, I remember the tribute to him. Actually, that's one of the first times you and I really hooked up, was on the tribute to Will at St. Peter's.
Yeah.
In an ensemble of like 50 people.
It was 50 people. Yeah, I had to play loud that night. Thomas Orrit, he says, I thought I was in the Grateful Dead for a minute.
Right.
So, yeah, it was cool, man.
I remember that. And in the middle of that ensemble, Steve Swell
with the hand.
pulled us out. Steve was conducting with a cast.
Yeah.
And he pulled you and I out of the ensemble for almost like a duo for like maybe 40 seconds, which was a lot of space in a 50-member group. And it was cool, man.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I'm curious what it's like to be on drums with an ensemble.
Okay, well, I'll tell everybody out there that thinks the drummer is the loudest person. Guitar players with amps and bass players with amps are much louder. I mean, you could blow your chops out trying to overplay an amp. So we're talking like, there was probably 50 people playing, right? I mean, I could throw down in that way if I need to, but it was a lot. That's a lot of work, man. Because you can't even hear yourself sometimes.
And Steve had to traverse, like to do the conduction. He had to walk back and forth.
Oh, it was not the whole church was full. Yeah, it was full from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to play with that many people. I mean, it's really fun to play with a big band. You have to play differently. You have to simplify a little more, so everybody knows where the beat is. But in that case, man, we were just going for it, and everybody was playing full volume. So I don't know. Could you hear me?
I could.
Okay.
I know there was some other horn players that got mad at me because during my solo I went over the top. There were horn players in front of me, and
what they wanted to solo.
I played too loud. There was a couple of sax players right in front of me, and even while I was playing, they turned around and looked at me like, "What the?" Like,
I mean, and at a memorial, and I just want to say, at a memorial, do you really have to go there? Like, just play, man. Think about Will, man. Like, it's not a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not being televised.
Yeah.
Like whatever, man. So okay. But that was a beautiful.
It really was. I could feel Will. I could feel Will in the house. You could see him like floating there, happy. So I'd like to thank Jeremy Carlstedt for coming out today to the Bridge Sessions.
Thank you, man.
Live, man.
Nice to play with you.
And you can check out Jeremy. Be sure to check him out online. And you're JeremyCarlstedt.com?
Yeah, JeremyCarlstedt.com.
Check out JeremyCarlstedt.com. And maybe we'll go out with some music to finish it up.
Sure.
And the Bridge Sessions is taking a break next week. And we'll be back after that, I believe, with Aaron M. Johnson, a multi-reed player, and a new friend of mine. So we'll be off next week, but thanks for coming by today. This is probably the last Sunday in July, and this is episode 5. And man, would you be into starting off solo? I got an oil valve to catch up with you.
Yeah, sure, man.
So we'd like to thank Jeremy for coming out once again, and have a great Sunday. Boom. Bridge Sessions 5. Peace.